Hey, what's up, y'all? It's N Squared. We're back, and we are making our first NFL video, our first NFL segment on the channel. Nick is super excited. He's the
Yes.
biggest NFL football fan I know personally, so I'm going to let him just go off. We're going to be talking about the Saints today and about Drew Brees. So go ahead, Nick, take it away.
So I sort of have some takes on the Saints and Drew Brees after everyone saying that they're going to be Super Bowl bound. I want to make an argument against that. But first, I want to look at their schedule. So it's a pretty tough schedule this season. I have them winning about 9 games. The first week is against the Houston Texans, which I have them winning. It's at home. It hurts to say that. Then they go to the Rams and do the revenge game. Personally, the Rams I think are better. And stay tuned in all this because I'm gonna give some in-depth like takes on why I think this. But I'm just gonna go over the schedule briefly. They're going at Seattle. That's 2 games on the West Coast. And Seattle at home is a very tough place to play. One of the hardest to play in. They go versus Dallas, and Dallas beat them at home last season. I think Cowboys are going to be good. They have what it takes. The Bucks is going to be the first win, so it's going to be through 5 weeks. They're going to go 2-3. I mean, what are you thinking about that?
Yeah, so of course, I'm not as big of a football fan as you are, so you're going to know a little bit more just off the bat. But I do know a little. I'm not going to say I don't know anything. So I do know a little. First of all, yeah, they're going to win the first game pretty easy, I think. I think Texans, yeah. I mean, they're okay, but I think the Saints are definitely better. At the Rams, yeah, it's going to be tough. I think that'll be their first loss. I don't think they could beat the Rams. I mean, they could, but I don't see it happening. At Seattle, I think they'll win that game. I think it'll be tough against the Seahawks at home, but still, it's still the whole topic about Russell Wilson and the O line, which we can talk about later. But that's just I don't have it yet. I think the Saints have a better overall team than the Seahawks, so I think the Saints will win that. The Cowboys, I don't have faith in them right now, so I think the Saints will win that. So and then the Bucks, the Saints are definitely better. So I see 4-1 in their first 5.
Okay. Then we got the Jags, which that's an up in the air team. It's really hard to determine them. I said they're going to get a win
Easy
because
dub. Easy dub. Easy dub.
At Chicago. Chicago has great defense. Mitchell Trubisky is going to continue to grow. I think that they lose there. They go to Arizona, should be a win. Then they go on their bye week. This is the end of the schedule is where it gets interesting here because there's arguments that could be made.
Yes. So through your next 2 games, I think that they'll lose against the Bears and win against the Cardinals.
Okay.
I'm with you for that.
So they have versus Atlanta. Going to be a great game. Atlanta's definitely improving. They're going to grow as a team. They got a new offensive coordinator. I think it's still going to be fine. Julio Jones, Matt Ryan, if that team stays healthy, and they have Devontae Freeman, they're going to be, and Ito Smith, they're going to be fine. They're going to have a high-powered offense that can beat the Saints, which they did last year. So, and then they go at the Bucks. Should be an easy win. Versus Carolina, that's an interesting game. Carolina's improving. If Cam Newton stays healthy, should be fine.
Yeah.
At Atlanta. Now this is Thanksgiving game.
Yeah.
What are you thinking about this game here?
So that's the game on November 28th, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's a nighttime game. It's a primetime game on Thanksgiving. So yeah, I think it's an interesting game. It's gonna be an interesting game. First of all, before this season, last year, the Falcons were so banged up. They had injuries everywhere. I mean, just everywhere. It was every week you're like, this person's injured. So this year, I don't think they'll be hit by the injury bug as much. So I think the Falcons will be much tougher out. This game is at the Falcons. It's going to be close. And I'm actually going to give it to the Falcons. I think since it's at home, I think the Saints will beat the Falcons the first time around. I think the Falcons will get them in this game. I have them splitting their 2 meetings, but it will be a good game, and I wouldn't be surprised if it went either way. But I think the Falcons will win that game.
Yeah, I agree with him there. So then they go on. They come back home. They play San Francisco. San Francisco. I don't know how I feel about them really yet, but they're a good team. Saints can beat them. Versus the Colts. Um, the Colts. They're going to be a good team. They got a great offensive line. Andrew Luck's a smart quarterback. I think they can beat them. It's a Monday night game. Personally, I have the Colts winning. What do you think on the Colts game?
Yeah, so I think it's in New Orleans, which is a very tough place to play. If anybody knows anything about the Saints' home field, they have a great home field advantage. It's it's a night game. Drew Brees will show up. So will Andrew Luck, but Drew Brees will show up this game. And I think the Saints will get it.
Okay. So then they go again at Tennessee. I'm not high in Tennessee at all. I think they get a win there. And then at Carolina, I think they get a win there because they need it. So for me, at least, I have them winning 9 to 10 games there.
Yeah.
But a lot of those games, especially at the end of the season and against Carolina, I could say those are throw-up games. And I'm saying a ceiling of 6 or a floor of 6-10 and a ceiling of like 12-4, and that's a big range.
Yeah, that's a big range.
You have them more on the win.
I have them between 10 and 12 wins, and I wouldn't be surprised if they got 13. I have them going into the last week. Right now, I have them at 12-3 going into the last week. And I think they'll lose to the Panthers because I disagree. I think they won't need that game. I think they'll rest their players. Carolina, I love Carolina. They're one of my favorite teams in the NFL. I think Carolina will be out of contention. I love some of their guys, but I think they'll be out of contention by this point. And the Saints will just rest their players. It'll kind of be a game of backups to me. I think maybe since the Panthers might be out, they might just play just for fun. But I think the Panthers will get that game, but I think the Saints will win their first meeting. So I think 12-4 is what I have them at. With probably, I think I would say a floor of 10-6 and a ceiling of 13-3.
So the Saints last season, I want to make this case here for my point. The infamous Dallas game last year where they lost. Now, I was a big fan of Drew. I am a big fan of Drew Brees. Drew Brees is one of my favorite quarterbacks. One of my favorite personalities in the NFL. Great role model that I believe anyone should just follow after. He's a great person. Last season, before the Cowboys game, he was MVP contention with Patrick Mahomes. He was doing a great job. But they lost the Dallas game at home, 13-10. And Brees did not have a good game. He had a horrible game. I think this is the start of his decline. And I'm not meaning like a slow decline. I mean, this is a fast decline. He lost the game against Dallas 13-10, then went and beat Tampa Bay 28-14. Not that great, but he beat them. Then this is where it gets interesting here. Carolina, he beat 12-9. And at this point, many believe Cam Newton to be really injured.
Yeah.
This was a primetime game, I believe, this 12-9. Yeah, it was Monday, December 17th. He threw for 203 yards. He didn't really, he didn't show up in some spectacular way. Then we go on to the Pittsburgh game. And I didn't get to see that as I was traveling then, but I know you saw that and you disagree. Like, the Steelers should have won that game. And there were some calls that were very iffy that you would agree upon, right?
Yeah. And I'm just going to go out and say it. I'm a Steelers fan, so it made me very upset when they lost the game. And the Steelers needed it to get into the playoffs, and they should have had it. I'm not gonna make excuses. They did lose, but I don't think they should have. I think the Steelers should have won, but the Saints won, so I'm not gonna make excuses.
It was a close game that, in my opinion, should not have been close.
Yeah,
especially at that time. Then they lose to the Panthers, but Drew Brees was resting that game. Still, in my opinion, that shows that the Saints don't really have the best depth necessarily to beat the Panthers. I get that the Panthers are starting more of their starters, but still, I'm skeptical on the depth of the Saints. Then we go into the playoffs. They barely beat a Nick Foles team, the Eagles. Barely beat them because Alshon Jeffrey drops a pass. That's how they win. Now, Drew Brees didn't play. He played through for 301 yards. Pretty solid game. He did show up, but Michael Thomas carried him for 171 yards. It should not have been that close in my opinion for the divisional round for a team playing at home against a very banged up Eagles squad. Not as bad as the Falcons, but pretty banged up. Then we go into the conference game, the infamous conference game, against the Rams. I am a believer that the Rams deserve the win. Many believe that the Saints got robbed. They got robbed of that call, but so did the Rams on many of calls with the face mask call was missed on the goal line that Jared Goff should have gotten a touchdown on, and there was plenty other personal fouls that the refs missed against the Rams, in my opinion, evened out. But Drew Brees lost that game. And he threw the interception. Yeah, it was tipped, but the defense made a play. Drew Brees did not show up in the end. He did not play well in the end of the game. And I believe that was his last chance at a Super Bowl. I'm going to go into my statistics now. I mentioned the Cowboys game. Drew Brees, before the Cowboys game, was 285 yards per game, 2.63 touchdowns per game, 0.18 interceptions per game, and an 83.4% completion percentage, which is insane. Brees, post-Cowboys loss, 234 yards per game, 1.16 touchdowns per game, 0.83 interceptions per game, and a 69.2% completion percentage, which is still a great completion percentage. But that shows that his numbers were decreasing fast. I'll continue on this. The Saints lost Max Unger, who borderline Hall of Fame. I don't know if he'll get there. He's in the Hall of Very Good. He's a very talented player, one of the best interior O-linemen in the NFL, and quarterbacks hate now. Interior pressure. They lost him. I don't think the replacements are going to be able to make up for the impact that centers have on underrated position. They lost Mark Ingram. Yes, they drafted someone, but Mark Ingram was a first-round talent.
Yeah, they got Latavius Murray also adding that in. But...
I mean, do you think that's... would you take Latavius Murray?
Oh, no, I'll take Mark Ingram, but Latavius Murray gives them that backup. They had it in Minnesota, Latavius Murray and Jerick McKinnon. They were great. And so he's a solid backup, I think. And Alvin Kamara, one thing before you keep going on your statistics here, I have to believe that Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara and all these other guys are only going to get better. So I think, Drew Brees might not be as good anymore. He might be declining. I don't think he's declining fast. I think you can't doubt it. He's declining. He's like 40. So when you're 40, you're going to start declining, usually no matter what. Very few exceptions, Tom Brady being one of them. But and he's 6 foot tall. Like, he's a small guy, so it's hard to stay durable and to stay at that peak. But with Michael Thomas getting better, like we saw it with. Let's just take a Texans example for right now. DeAndre Hopkins has been leading the Texans before Deshaun Watson got there. He was insane without a good quarterback. So if Michael Thomas is getting up to that level, the DeAndre Hopkins level, which I think he is, I think Michael Thomas can make Drew Brees look better than he is, and I think Alvin Kamara can catch balls out of the backfield and run. I think both of them can make Drew Brees look better and play better than he actually might be, and that's why I think, even though Drew Brees might be declining, I don't think the team will decline this year. So that's my point on the whole thing.
So in continuation, because I do sort of agree with that to an extent, they did lose Ben Watson. Yes, Benjamin Watson. He retired and unretired for some reasons. He's back on the Patriots, but still he's not on the team anymore. And they lost Alex Okafor, a decent pass rusher. They're going to replace him with Marcus Davenport. I'm not a fan of Marcus Davenport at all. But they gained Jared Cook. Great signing. Fantastic. Better than Benjamin Watson. Love it. Don't have much to say beyond that. And they got Latavius Murray, as you previously mentioned. And then for the center replacement, either Nick Easton or Eric McCoy. Nick Easton plays more of a guard. Eric McCoy was talented, but I don't think you're going to be able to replace Max Unger that quickly. Now, let me go on to my point here that Drew Brees is declining. When you watch him play, he is overthrowing balls slightly. He's letting them sail. He does not have as much of a zip on the ball. Nice, Prater. I'll just continue. He does not have much of a zip on the ball as he used to. His old age is getting to him, and the deep ball he is losing. And I don't think that his team is going to be able to make up for that. And as we saw against the Cowboys, they shut that deep ball down. I mean, and that team was not that good. When the Rams started shutting it down, Drew Brees did not get that good. He was not going up to that level of, always playing top notch. Now, yes, Sean Payton's offense uses more running games, and he's a creative schemer. Yes, he's going to do that. He's going to be fine. But Drew Brees had one of his worst seasons with about 3,900 yards. That's one of his worst statistical seasons that he's really.
Still an MVP candidate, though.
Still, yes, that's very much.
You gotta give that to him.
I'll give him that much, but I just don't think that they're going to rely on him as much.
Yeah.
And I don't think you can trust him as much.
But I don't think you necessarily need to if you go back to my point that the other players around him are getting better. And just like players that wide receivers make their quarterbacks better sometimes, and running backs make their quarterbacks better. So I think, I agree he's declining. I don't think it really matters a whole lot because I think the players around him will make him better.
It's fair enough. I'll go on to this point here as sort of my final major point here is the teams around in the NFC. There's a lot of good teams.
Yeah.
The teams I like better than the Saints are the Bears. I think they got everything they need. I think they're better than the Saints. Their defense is better, and I think Mitchell Trubisky is just going to grow. I like the Packers a ton. They have all the offensive weapons. Their O-line's a little iffy, but they have defense now. Their defense showed up a little bit last season. That's not questioned. They went out and signed players and drafted players. They're a better team. I can make a whole video about the Packers being better eventually. I want to. The Vikings, they're a pretty good team. They're not going to show up in prime time, but they're a good team. Right there on the Saints level. The Rams are better. I love the Seahawks. They were a great team last season, and I take them over the Saints. I like the Eagles better. The Eagles have, when healthy, probably the most talented roster, or one of the most talented rosters out there. They're going to be able to shut down Alvin Kamara in their run game. Then I would take the Cowboys over. The Cowboys have done it before. They beat them. The Cowboys beat the Saints at home. Or they beat them at the Saints home. And they've done it before, and in my opinion, they're just going to improve and get better. Then there's teams that are just on there, maybe right under there, but they have the potential to be better, which are the Falcons and the Panthers. I believe they can reach that level to where they can beat the Saints. And the 49ers, whether you believe that they can. Kyle Shanahan's a great coach. The Saints can lose a lot of games this year. And I don't think Drew Brees has another shot at a Super Bowl. He doesn't. I mean,
I still think he does. I'm not. To me, the teams you just listed, the teams I would worry about would be the Rams, Bears, and the
Eagles.
Not the Eagles.
Okay. Wow.
I just don't. The Eagles, yeah, I think they have a good roster, but no, I just don't. I just don't see it. I think the Eagles have had their moment, and I think it's done now. I just do. I just do. But yeah, the Rams and the Bears are my main two that I would worry about right now. I just don't. Other than that, I don't think. I think the Saints are just right in that third, or even better than that.
Okay. I think I rest my case for the Saints. I think you rest yours, but we'll see how Drew Brees plays this season and determine it from there. I do think he's going to decline. I think it's going to be big this year, sadly, but